All right, hey Alec, what's going on?
All right, hey, how's it going?
Welcome everybody to Tarqaron. This is the first ever Survivor discussion on this channel, but in case you didn't know, we've done these for every season so far of Survivor.
Yep.
Basically, I'm a huge Survivor fan, and I wanted to introduce Alec to them and go actually chronologically from the beginning. And so we have the first three are up on my channel, which you can go to still. But you'll notice it's a pretty good quality jump, I think, at least now. Like we don't have the low quality potato video now.
Potato cam.
Yeah,
Yeah, my potato cam is no more. So I got a decent camera.
pretty good, and you got a Vesepia face down here to
Yeah,
enjoy.
yeah, yeah.
It's nice.
So
And we're in the Marquesas Islands. Is the background here?
the glorious. Just don't let the nose or whatever those
No
things were that
nose.
were no nose that were. Just don't let those eat you up because
Or
man,
don't let the Rosie O'Donnell's. I forgot.
don't let Rosie O'Donnell, who her 3 years of fame, just don't let her cramp your style.
I forgot to write that down. Even like I didn't even think of it until just now. I was like, oh yeah, she did do that reunion show. That's
So weird.
what happened to Brian, man.
Mm-mm.
they're like, Brian, you're too white collar for this Survivor presentation. We're gonna go off the rails. We're gonna bring Colby. Colby gonna bring Rosie O'Donnell in. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can attest. You saw my face when that happened. I was stunned for like a good 5 minutes when it was just Rosie O'Donnell being like, "I'm Rosie O'Donnell," and it was just like her yelling and doing her thing from the early 2000s, and I was just like, "This is the worst thing I think we've watched so far."
but it was great back then, I'm sure.
I'm sure
It
it
was
was. I'm
wonderful.
sure it was all the rage.
So, Survivor Marquesas, I'll give a quick rundown of the events. You know, we could talk along the way of the season.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
we started with two tribes, Maramu and Rotu.
Hmm.
Um, and then we had, of course, Peter was voted off for being a nice weirdo. Um, which
Really
is
awkward guy.
like the
That is pretty much it.
first the first couple like pre-merged ones were weird. Like then you just had Patricia voted off for being like the bossy mom. And it was like, okay, let's get the
Hmm.
ball rolling. But then the third one is when Hunter got voted off. That was kind of Boston Rob's breakout time there. Uh, then they had the random tribe swap, which came out of nowhere,
Yeah.
which was like, I mean, similar to something they did in Africa, but it was like they kept the tribe sizes the same, so you still had one that was outnumbered. They just swapped members around in them, so you ended up with like three women, and Pascal was the one tribe.
Yeah, it was a little weird, I thought, because it like the first one. I mean, we sort of discussed on the previous video. The first one definitely felt like producer meddling because it was kind of boring what was going on,
Mm-hmm.
and it sort of felt like we need something to shake the game up. But with this one, it just kind of felt like almost for no reason, in a
Right.
way. I mean, I guess you could argue that Rob was going to then dominate afterwards, but it felt like even Jeff had said that this was planned ahead of time. Like this was a planned thing that they were doing from the beginning. This is always planned.
Hmm.
It just seemed weird to me. It kind of just seemed to shake things up almost for no reason. Just because we have to do something that's similar to what the cool thing, the amazing thing that we had everybody talking last season. Like it did kind of feel a little like that.
Yeah.
Um,
At the same time, it could be just kind of like they want to keep them always on their toes, and they don't
yeah,
want
that's
like
that's possible too. Yeah,
they don't want to have the reality where people get too comfortable again, like they did with Africa.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so if like they're expecting something, like if they're
yeah,
expecting, oh, now we're gonna always have a swap sometime,
yeah,
then they'll always be like
yeah,
not stuck in one specific strategy to go with.
yeah. That's
So
true. That's true. And I mean, to be, yeah, to be fair though, to I think this one was already kind of putting them at a weird, or not at a weird disadvantage, but it was kind of already putting them in odds with nature because in this time they didn't provide them with any food. They had to provide all of their own food and all their
hmm
own cooking and all that stuff, all their own water. I think they had to get their own water too, or something. I'm trying to
um,
remember.
I don't even remember them talking about the water that much this
I
season.
don't. Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, actually, that was yeah. I don't remember. That was probably early on. They probably discussed it, and that probably was figured out. But
Yeah.
it was very minimal survival tools were like allowed this time. Like and especially nothing really food related was given to them. So
Yeah.
um,
And definitely in comparison to the last two seasons, at least, it seemed a lot less of a focus on the survival part of it. Like
yeah,
not so much like, oh, these conditions are horrible, kind
right.
of thing. Like you had a little bit of that in the beginning with like, I think Sarah was was like sick or something in the beginning, but
Yeah,
there wasn't too much. Yeah, after
a little towards the end they sort of were talking about it again too. But yeah, it wasn't a huge topic this time around. It wasn't like a big problem, I
yeah,
guess.
definitely
Or they
wasn't
would
the focus.
yeah, not the focus.
And then after this random tribe swap, they kind of put some people in bad spots, like Sarah, of course, who unfortunately she got swapped into the minority, but she had like the most unceremonious vote off yet, where
Yeah,
it was like everything going into the tribal council. Sarah was like the only option presented,
yeah.
and everyone unanimously voted Sarah. She left, and her goodbye message, she's like, "I wish everybody the best,"
It was the
and it
most
was
generic goodbye ever. It wasn't like well wishes to home. It wasn't like wow, I was changed by this journey or like man, I've got sour grapes. Like Hunter was like, man, these guys are gonna die without me. And it was like, wow, I don't miss you at all. Yeah, no, hers was just like, I just think everybody was so great in my tribe, and I just wish them all the best, and then good luck on the rest of the game. And me and you were both like, wow, that
yeah.
was so generic.
But you got to give it up to Sarah. She was easily the best player this season. I mean, she killed it out there.
The best playa. She was the playa. Well, yeah, in terms of,
She did so
I'm just
much.
going to follow Boston Rob.
Cleopatra coming in.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
And then we had Gabe voted off, who was also clearly one of our favorites. Gabe was
Yeah,
great. He kind
Gabe, who
of
was just like, I don't believe in even playing the game. I think we should just be out here
yeah. So he
and just
basically
enjoy it.
he got ousted by his own alliance. Basically, we
Yeah.
were like, yeah, we don't need this guy.
Yeah.
And then yeah, Gina voted off. Not a huge deal either, really.
Mm.
Then came the merge, and before the merge, actually, Rob and Kathy had like this summit thing where they were like picked as representatives, and they came together and picked their merged tribe name and everything. But of course, then after the merge, into Solion to
Solely
Rob.
on two.
Rob is the first victim,
Rob.
who
Rob
who
was.
was such a huge character in the pre-merge, and like
Yeah.
he was definitely set up as like a Richard Hatch style player, like I'm gonna run the show kind of thing.
Yeah. But the problem with Rob, and Rob was my favorite going in.
Yeah,
Um, just because that there's very few information, very little knowledge I know about this, but I had seen him in The Amazing Race, because that was like the one of the only reality shows that we watched
hmm
that I watched growing up, and there was in one of the first seasons of Amazing Race that I watched, they had Boston Rob and on in, one of the as like one of the groups in that, and they'd been like, oh, he was formerly on Survivor, and he was kind of like this big like popular like contestant or whatever. Um, and yeah, so I knew him from that. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I'll actually get to see like this guy's legend or
yeah. So
whatever. You know, like
did you think going in like, oh, this guy is probably gonna win because he was like,
I thought he was gonna go much further than he did. I didn't
yeah,
necessarily think he was going to win, but I thought that he was going to at least make it through to the jury, which he did not.
yeah, he's like
Which was
just short.
just short. And man, he kind of let me down because he made his moves too quickly. He
Yeah,
was playing he was playing a lot more skeevy game than Richard Hatch ever did. Because Richard Hatch was relatively upfront about what he was doing. Rob was like really trying to work negatively on people and like
hmm
really kind of make it so that like I don't know negative vibes I guess around the camp. So he even said he was like you can motivate people from fear. That's from The Godfather, and it's true. That was like one of my favorite quotes that he had.
Yeah.
Um, and and he was like, yeah, and so he was doing an interesting job. You could see the work that he did with his tribe on Hunter, but then once that swap happened, he had to work a lot harder
Yeah,
at
because he was
trying
he
to
was put into the minority there. Yeah.
and he was basically butting heads with that other group of part members of the other tribe um that he had merged into, and from that he made some strategic moves that were clearly way too early and did not work in his favor,
Yeah, and he
where he
really
kind of his confrontations he made to some of the members just completely blew up in his face and did not work to his advantage.
yeah, he really kind of overplayed his hand there.
Yeah,
And if he had laid back a little, it's possible they would have just voted off Sean there.
yeah,
And you mean, what do you know? The next tribal council is the one where the minority comes together to overthrow this alliance.
yeah,
And that was, after they're known as like the Rotu Four. Is this alliance of it was the General, Tammy, Zoe, and John, and they kind of like displayed a bit of arrogance in the immunity challenge where they literally like showed the pecking order, and
yeah,
everybody was just like all these people that weren't working together were like, all right, let's just band together, let's take them
yeah,
out.
yeah. It was kind of like, well, some of them were former Rotu members too,
Yeah.
and they were kind of like, oh, it's nice to have B back with the gang again. But then when they saw that like how like kind of like, yeah, we're gonna get rid of these guys and we're gonna be we're gonna be like the top ones to go, they were like, wait a minute. They were like, hold on a second. They were and they and all of a sudden they kind of like woke up to the fact, wow, we should actually really be playing this game like seriously. We need to be taking it seriously. And that was a really awesome moment. I know that was probably my favorite moment of the whole
Yeah.
of the whole year. I really liked the fact that they were able to turn the tide against themselves
Yeah, and
like that.
literally it went after that. It was just one by one. They just took out all the people who were sitting pretty,
Yeah.
and this is a fan term that in the Survivor community known as pagonging,
Really?
which is based on the first season, where
Pagonging?
pagong was taken out one by one by the other alliance. Into the merge. It was just one by
There's no
one.
such thing as an alliance. Remember that?
Yep.
Yeah. No, I think if one more person goes, then for sure there's an alliance.
So yeah,
That was awesome.
that's what people kind of refer to whenever it's like they just go one by one down this alliance.
Okay, okay,
It's
cool.
pagonging.
I'm in the know now. I
Yeah.
feel
So after that, we then had once they wiped all these Road 4 out, they had Kathy who was stuck in the middle of two pairs, Sean Vesepia and Nalia and Pascal, and she had to make a decision. Ultimately, she votes Sean off. Is this the right decision here? Would you made that decision?
I don't know if it was necessarily the right decision. I mean, looking hindsight, obviously is 2020. I may have just gone straight Vesepia
Mm-hmm.
off, because I mean she's the ultimate winner. So obviously I would think that now.
Well, actually, didn't she? Did Vesepia have immunity that one? Who? Oh no, Kathy had immunity.
Yeah,
Okay.
Kathy was the one
Yeah,
that had
that's right.
immunity, and Kathy was like, I mean, it was ultimately, yeah, she was the person that didn't matter because no matter what, they were relying on her vote basically,
Yeah.
um, to make the decision. So, um, yeah,
So it's
huh.
hard. It's
Yeah,
hard
it's
to
it's
say.
really tough. It's
Yeah.
really tough because I think either way, I don't know if I don't know. I think a lot of it came down to if Kathy had continued to get immunity, if she'd gotten, especially if she'd gotten immunity in the final challenge,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think she had a shot at winning,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I mean, it's just hard to say. I think because I think pretty much any of the final five, I think she honestly had a good shot at winning.
Yeah.
She was a strong leader. She had a really sweet personality. She I think she was able to rustle some feathers, but I think she played the game pretty fairly.
Hmm.
She was often pretty upfront about like what she was doing and everything.
And she still definitely like was playing the game and
Yeah,
and had her footing out there. And the thing comes down to is, I guess, I don't know what her ultimate decision was based on, but you have to, I guess you have to base it on who you'd be best at against in a challenge.
yeah,
And I mean, none of them were really known as like challenge threats at the time,
yeah.
but
I
yeah, I
think
don't
I
know.
think that must be what she made it because Sean was just he's a strapping young man.
Sean,
So
yeah, Sean, I guess had won a couple of challenges.
yeah,
Yeah, and ultimately, oh yeah, Sean gets voted off, and then we're down to the final four
yeah.
with Kathy, Nolia, Haskell, and Vesepia.
Hmm.
Vesepia has immunity, and Kathy goes to Vesepia, and she's like, "All right, I'll force a tie if if you don't vote for me." And then we have the first new tiebreaker,
Which
uh,
I really liked this a lot. Honestly,
the
this was
Purple Rock.
the
Yeah,
purple rock. That was probably my favorite way they've ever done it.
you didn't
Um,
like the trivia that the
no,
survival
that was
trivia
terrible.
that
That
poor
was like the
Carl
worst thing.
poor Carl got voted out for. Oh man,
No, that was
but that was
awful.
epic. That was so hype. Yeah, this is much more hype. Like the presentation, and everything is done really well. Where it's like you draw the rock, and then you all reveal at once.
Yeah, really cool presentation. I like the discussion beforehand too, where they were like, if you guys want to, so if someone wants to take the fall kind of thing, or if you can decide unanimously who to vote for, then do so. But it was like really interesting because they were all kind of like, you could tell they were all like, oh yeah, I don't want to, we don't want to go home, and it's just it was really interesting, and they were just like, we have to do the rocks. It's the most fair way to determine it.
You
So
can imagine in another scenario where it's not like two pairs that are so tightly bonded that
right,
someone could potentially jump ship, and that's the idea, I guess, of it. It's like, are you really willing to risk just losing on random chance
right,
just to not vote out one person that you're kind of aligned with? It's like
yeah,
it's a huge decision, especially in the final four. That's going to affect a lot.
mm,
Like especially if someone like Nalia, who won the final immunity, right? Like if she got taken out, then we got a whole new game. Just so it shows you how important like the final final votes and challenges are in this game
yeah,
too.
they really are.
So yeah, so of course Pascal, the one person who didn't have any votes,
Yep,
was the one who was taken out.
yep, yep.
This is like producer's dream scenario. They're like, yes. And then, of course, we had the final immunity challenge, where it was literally Nalia's like, "Oh, you got a nipple showing there." She
Yeah,
goes
it's
to
just like, oh,
adjust.
your blouse is showing, and then she starts to adjust and loses her balance.
Yep, and then immediately Vesepia's like, "Oh, I'll just jump off if you don't vote for me." Okay,
Yeah,
done.
yeah, and it was like,
Nice.
wow, that's pretty rough.
Sorry, Kathy. She gets voted off by Nalia. And
Yep.
Kathy, I mean, that's still the right decision apparently, because it seemed like Kathy had a much better shot, and ended up being a close vote in the end.
Yeah, yeah, it was. It was very close.
So ended up,
We haven't had a vote that close in a little while, I think.
well,
Right? I think
literally,
since
it's 2 seasons, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean,
We had,
we've been watching this for a while, and so we spread it out. So
I'm pretty sure the
can't.
first season was a 4-3 vote. Second season might have been a 4-3 vote too. The third season was 5-2, and now this was a 4-3 vote. So we've had a lot of close votes.
I thought second season was 5-2 as well, and the only reason I'm saying that is because that was when Colby kind of gave it away in his questions.
Hmm.
That's why that because I seem to remember it being that way because it was like
Yeah, but I still feel like there
I,
were.
I, I don't
I'm
know.
gonna check.
I could be remembering that totally wrong too.
All right, it was a 4-3 vote. Okay,
Okay, all right. I was just remembering totally wrong.
so he barely botched it up,
He barely botched it. Yeah.
but it would have been like probably almost unanimous if it was if it was Colby against Keith.
Oh,
But we'll see.
100%. 100%.
So yeah, so ultimately we have Sepia and Aaliyah final
Mhm.
two, and Kathy, Pascal, and Zoe voted for Nalia to win. Sean, Robert, aka General, Tammy, and John vote for Vesepia to win. So that's interesting. Zoe, one of the Road 2-4, voted for Nalia. Other than that, you got 3 of the Road 2-4 and Sean for Vesepia. Now, if you were in that jury, you were participating in that final tribal council, who would you have voted for? Looking at it, not as a viewer.
Not as a viewer?
Which, of course, you can do easily. Put yourself exactly in their shoes.
I feel like I would have fallen for Nalia's like sweet girl thing. I mean, not saying that she's putting it on at all, but in the sense that like I thought that was very charming and adorable.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
so you're a sucker.
I was basically Pascal. I totally was like, yeah, she's just a charming young woman, you know. So,
so that's how you decide your vote. It's like,
I don't know. It's really hard to do. It's really hard to like separate yourself when you're not a viewer. I feel like Vesepia. Well, really, both of them kind of coasted a little bit. You know what I mean? I mean, they both did start playing the game, so to say, around the time that the jury was being decided. So it's kind of hard to say, because earlier on they were clearly coasting.
I think here's my thing: is I think Vesepia's coasting was more a conscious decision than Nalia's coasting, who admits that she started playing on day 24. And that she was just kind of there for the ride until then. So do you
think Vesepia was really yeah, she was making conscious decisions. That's true.
Like she was saying early on, she was like, "I'm not a part of that drama. I'm not getting any part of that drama."
She's not being part of the drama. Yeah, that's true. She laid low. That is really true. That is really true. Yeah.
That's a valid strategy, you know.
It is a valid strategy. I mean, it worked with last season.
Ethan, yeah.
With Ethan, it worked really well for him. So. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say in terms of like how much they were contributing and everything. I know earlier on some people were complaining that Vesepia wasn't shifting her weight or whatever.
And I do think Nalia openly like having this relationship with Pascal is like kind of it's a bad strategic thing to just openly be like, there's no way I'm voting him out ever. Like I'm obviously going to take him over anybody else. And like
to have it, well,
if people had caught on earlier, like they would have broken that up earlier. I mean, if they really thought about it, it's kind of a big target to put on yourself. And Vesepia, like Nalia was the bigger target of her pair, while Vesepia let Sean be the loud one of the pair, so she was always protected.
That's true. That's actually really true right there. Yeah. That's a smarter game plan ultimately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, when you put it that way, it's almost like maybe I really would have voted for Vesepia, because if you do look at the game as a whole, she definitely was playing it safe, playing it low, but intentionally doing it that way. Intentionally aligning herself with the right people at the right time. She did play a very strategic game ultimately. And yeah, you do gotta hand it to her for that. And yeah. Now that I'm really thinking about it, yeah, that's really true. So.
And I think her final tribal council performance is more compelling than Nalia's.
Her final tribal council, yeah, she smashed it. Absolutely, it was blew it out of the water. I like with because they answered, for the most part, they answered stuff very similarly, but Vesepia was very. Maybe honestly, it could have even just had to do with the age difference. But she seemed like way more mature and well spoken and thought out in her responses to people, rather than just kind of, saying whatever she thought or felt, type of thing. So.
Yeah, Nalia, I believe. Let me check. I think Nalia was the youngest contestant so far. She was 21.
21, yeah.
Also, there's like trivia, because I go on the Survivor wiki and there's like trivia that says that she was the first castaway born in the 1980s.
That's crazy. That is actually pretty crazy.
So young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
She's like 39 now.
yeah, she's like my brother's age. So
All right, what else? So yeah, I think Giuseppe deserved to win in the end. I mean, you always have people you root for, and I would have preferred Sean there just because he's crazy.
Sean was an entertaining guy. I
I
loved him a
wonder
lot.
how the votes would have fallen on that one though. That would have been interesting to see if it would be the same, or if he wouldn't have won. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because he definitely rubbed people the wrong way more than Giuseppe, so I could see it actually swinging.
That's true. That's true.
I posted this on Reddit like I usually do, and one person commented that we should talk about, we should mention some of the weird challenges they did, like the stilts and the kite flying challenges.
It was kind of oddball. I mean, there were some like returning favorites, like the relay, the fire relay, and it just in the sense that like you have to make the fire and then make the fire do things for you, like that type of thing came back. But there was some like weird stuff this time around.
And they did have the targeted ones, like the one where you target other people and take them out. So they had like you break the tile and the sand fills on them.
Yeah.
I usually don't like those, but I think that challenge was one of those challenges was the one responsible for like the Road 2-4 dismantling themselves. So I mean that accomplished what they wanted it to do there.
Because of how you can like target other people, it makes it so like it makes it feel like immunity is just going to obviously go to one person.
And the thing I don't like about targeted immunities is that it's the whole point of immunity is like if you have one person on the outs, you want to give that person that one little chance to come back. And if it's like one person clearly on the outs, there's no chance if everybody's going to target them every time.
That's certainly happened.
Yeah. But ultimately, at least that one worked out to where
that one did end up
those banded together.
Working out. Yeah.
That's again the producer's dream right there. It's like we knew we loved these competitions.
The stilts was like the dumbest thing that I think they've done so far because it was just like literally none of them. It seemed like only who is it?
Tammy.
It was only Tammy. Like actually practicing. The rest of it didn't seem like either they didn't practice or they started practicing and they were just like, whatever.
Wouldn't it have been a good challenge if they actually did well at it? Isn't that just the fault of them for sucking at it? Because I mean, it's like what was it like Marquesian stilt fighting or whatever it was.
In theory that sounds really fun and interesting because you're trying to knock people off on stilts.
Yeah, but it was literally most of them just like tried to stay up for more than 1 second before falling.
It's just they immediately fell off. Yeah. I was like, oh.
Yeah, the kite one was weird for a challenge. Just fly the kite the quickest.
Fly a kite. Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't have to follow it to any specs or anything. It was just like build and fly a kite.
Yep. Yeah, and like, Kathy killed it at that challenge.
Yeah,
she's a killer kite builder. So they're clearly
Burlington, Vermont. She's just flying kites all the time. That's
they clearly were experimenting with a lot of stuff, but thank God they had the final four immunity where you had the jury trivia questions, and we're glad that was back. I'm so glad. So you can hold up a piece of clothing.
Be like, whose
necklace is this?
Who has a freckle on their?
But hey, credit to Versepia for that. I mean, that shows how she was actually in tune with everybody.
Yeah.
Talking to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If she hadn't gotten immunity there, do you think she would have been on going home there?
That's Final Four. No. I think they still would have because it still ended up being Sean. I think Sean was still probably. I don't know.
No, that was in the final. That trivia was still the final four.
Yeah, that was Final Four.
So I'm saying Final Four was
Sean. Oh,
Sean wasn't on that. Yeah, it was Pascal. Nalia, Kathy, and Vesepia. So, do you think if Vesepia hadn't
Hmm.
gotten immunity there, do you think she would have been going home?
Yeah, yeah, actually, because Kathy like already chose, unless
Kathy kind of chose that side unless
she was always
she
planning
decided
to
to.
go for a tie, but it
Yeah, I
seemed
don't
like a
know.
spur of the moment thing. She
Yeah,
decided, but yeah, I guess
maybe.
she
It's
would have
hard
she
to
would have
say.
suffered the same fate though ultimately because she would have lost to Nalia, hypothetically again in the final tribal. But maybe she would have thought going against those two in the end, she would just go for the chance of winning the immunity over them.
Yeah,
Hmm,
yeah,
that is interesting. But yeah, it's just every little thing can change the outcome so much. Like the literally the entire winner.
yeah,
Just like with the mistake in Survivor Africa, like Lex could have ended up being the winner if he won that immunity.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, one. I have some Survivor firsts.
Okay.
Look into Survivor trivia. There's always some
Yeah,
firsts in each season.
yeah.
Different things happen. First time we have two of the same gender in the finals. It's always been man and
Oh
woman.
yeah. Oh yeah. Huh.
First time they ever had the loved ones actually brought to the location for a challenge,
Oh
as
yeah. All the other
opposed
times it's
to
been
like
like
a
a sat
video,
phone or something. Yeah.
intense email. Yeah.
Intense email. Yeah. Instant messaging.
First time that both original tribes were represented in the final tribal council. So
Ooh,
Nalia and
interesting.
Vesepia were both on different
Yeah,
tribes. Yeah.
that's right. That's really cool.
Which I think it's a good sign of the season because it shows it was more fluid and not like just stuck on tribal lines the whole time.
Yeah.
Makes for more interesting stuff. Um, First time the tribal council had a roof. So shout out to
Thank God. That was so dumb. We went for so long with getting rained on. I was getting sick and tired of them
the
scribbling
wet
that
paper.
the wet paper. I was so tired of that that I was
Who knows though? The next season might have a no roof
just
again.
like,
Maybe
yeah, we're gonna free ball it one more time.
if they
Just
just
for old
get better.
time's
If they
sake.
just get better paper, that's all. Uh, and along with not having any food rations and the first time with this rock tiebreaker, we also had the first time you can give up the immunity necklace.
Yeah. Interesting strategy. Nobody really took advantage of. Well,
No
at
one, no
the
one gave it up.
did anyone give it? Yeah, I guess there was talk of it happening. I think sort of towards the end,
Yeah,
but
there
yeah,
was talks
no
of
one,
it, but
no one,
it's like
no one ever gave it up. It'll be interesting to see if that's a thing going forward.
because
It'll be interesting to see that used as leverage.
thinking of it practically, it's like it's gotta be so rare for that ever to be like makes sense for that to be
V
your decision.
Very risky,
Because it's like
but
if you have your number one alliance member or something, it's like I want to save them. It's clearly you're just gonna be voted out then. So it's like
yeah, yeah,
someone wants to
it's hard
fall
to
on the
say.
sword maybe.
Yeah,
It's literally which one to give up. Because usually it's not like you can do it after the votes were done and just like shake up the game
yeah,
and be like, no,
yeah.
I'm gonna save them now.
Save them. I will offer myself, and I will go home instead.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna
Yeah.
make a big move. I'm gonna save my alliance member here. She's not going home, and then they just vote that person out. Cool. Also, fun fact: originally, Jordan was gonna be the location for this season,
Jordan.
but this
That is
was
a
shortly after 9/11. Was this? So
yeah.
they were kind of forced to change
Was
it.
was this the first post 9/11 filmed,
This was
or was
filmed.
Africa that?
Yeah, this was filmed on November 2001. Yeah,
Yeah, so it was. Yeah. Wow.
and then it was aired in February 2002. So
Yeah.
yeah, so they kind of had
Yeah.
to change. But apparently
Yeah.
they had like a whole opening sequence planned of like coming in on a train and then like riding camels to their camp and everything. It was what they were planning on doing. But they had to change. And Marquesian Islands were like a backup plans. We're like, let's go with that. Okay,
Cool.
and now we
That's
come
kind of neat. That's kind of neat.
now we come to the final segment of the show, which I like to call the Survivor Superlatives.
Ooh, Survivor Superlatives. I like it.
So we have our winner, Vesepia, But of
Yep.
course, that's not the only award this season. We need to give out a Cutie of the Season award. Who could it be? The
You know my answer.
answer's
It's
no. It's Zoe. Oh,
no.
come from behind.
No, it's Nilia. Clearly.
Leah. There was no challenge, huh?
Not for me, not really. No.
Cleopatra isn't a cutie.
I mean like yeah, she
The booby of
she
the season.
showed off her how to put this in a PC sort of way. She showed off her that she was well endowed. Sarah
Mhm.
did, absolutely.
A lot of
definitely
a couple redeeming qualities.
Couple of redeeming qualities, yeah, and that's clearly she was trying to use that as leverage in with Rob and everything. But
She was great.
yeah.
She's a strategic mastermind, though. You gotta
Yeah.
give it to her.
Yeah, clearly.
So, Cutie of the Season, Aaliyah, of course.
Leah, yeah.
And then, of course, we need to give out the Alex Favorite Player Award.
Alec's favorite player.
Yeah.
So for the first, I'm gonna give it a tie. I'm giving it a tie this time. My favorite player.
That's not fair. There's always
It's
a
not-
tiebreaker. We'll draw rocks.
If it's, okay,
We have to
okay.
draw
No, that's
rocks.
actually not a bad. That's actually not a bad idea. No. Like
I don't-
have the ideas in your hand. So it's between Rob, because Rob was Boston Rob.
Wait, what do I do with them in my hand, though? And then you're gonna pick out of it?
Yeah. So you'll determine a name in each hand. You don't tell me that until I pick one.
Okay. Hold on.
So.
Okay.
So Boston Rob, and Pascal.
Well, I gotta get this right on this camera here.
Okay.
Boston Rob and Pascal,
Yep. I pick your right hand.
which is this one. This
Your
one.
right hand. Your right
My
hand.
right hand.
Your right hand.
All right, Pascal.
Okay, Pascal wins. I really liked him. Honestly, he was just kind of like just a nice old man. But like he was kind of a little coasting a little bit too. But you could tell he was even before like that happened, the episode 24 or the day 24 episode 24. The day 24 thing happened. You could tell he was still kind of like thinking things over and trying to play it straight. But I don't know. I really
you just like the old men.
I do. I like the fact that like these older guys can come do this and survive for long periods of time. Like I really like that. I think that's really cool. I want to see some. And Kathy was awesome too.
Yeah.
Kathy's probably like runner up to those two. Same sort of thing. Okay. She's a little older, but like man, she was just kicking butt the whole time. It was great.
For me, if I had a favorite player award, it would be between Boston Rob and Sean.
See, Sean is really great.
I think Sean's great.
I don't. Sean was entertainer of the. We'll give him that superlative. The most entertaining clearly was Sean. He was just a funny guy. He always had a great fun comment. The way he narrated stuff and yeah.
And literally down to his getting voted off. Dope.
Yeah, he goes dope. Yeah, it was great. Good stuff.
But yeah, I mean, Boston Rob made an impact in that pre-merge to still be in contention.
Yeah, that's the
So
thing.
that's pretty good. That's pretty darn good. And like, if he lasted a few more episodes, we're talking game changer status.
Yeah, major player for sure.
Yeah. All right. Also, as is now tradition, how would you rank this season amongst the other seasons? Previously, you had ranked Australian Outback, Borneo, Africa. Where does this fall in?
After Borneo, but ahead of Africa.
Okay. 2-1. Okay.
I think I'm still sticking with 2 as my favorite. I still think it had some of the most. Like I said, I really liked the focus of that season being like really about the elements. Richard Hatch's performance is like 2 is like literally just above 1. It's so close because Richard Hatch, again, we both agree that he's he has as yet anyway, as far as I know,
Mhm.
he's just one of the most interesting, fascinating players of this game.
And it's like it's that quality where like same with you can see the same qualities in Boston Rob where it's like charismatic in confessionals, but
mm,
also like strategic, like very strategic, and also just like a likable person. It's got just a great
mm,
combination for
yeah,
television.
yeah.
But yeah,
Um, so this one really high up there too, honestly. Um, it did kind of suffer in like weird challenge stuff that we kind of talked about. Kind of like a weird odd decisions of just like we're just gonna flop people around, and it just seemed a little like out of nowhere. I guess again you said keeping them on their toes, but there's just some like really kind of things I wasn't necessarily expecting, and it kind of didn't do anything for me. Like it didn't make me like, wow, that's amazing. The
mm-hmm.
only thing that happened with was the alliance shift, the shift in the Rotu 4 not being in power anymore. That was the thing that got me like amped for the rest of the season.
Yeah,
Um,
and then that
so
final the final interaction between like the final five with Kathy's decision, and then the
yeah,
tiebreaker was pretty cool stuff.
all some of the best moments easily of the season was just the last one. So yeah, I solid season. Really enjoyed it. Very entertaining. But
Now, what
um,
about the winners? How would you rank Vesepia as a winner amongst the others?
as a winner,
Yeah, if you're like
probably two. Honestly, probably number two.
two,
I'd put her under Richard Hatch because I think you sort of convinced me. I mean, I talked it through a little bit too, but I think thinking back at how she put herself out there or didn't put herself out there at certain moments.
but you could argue the same quality for Tina though, who literally had this young stud take her to the end.
Yeah, I guess, but that was really like
Her powers were she was so powerful that she made Colby give up his win at the
what was
game.
that? What was that alliance really based on? I'm trying to even really remember.
It was
And that
just it
was
was like the starting tribe members basically. It was Keith, Tina, Colby, that kind of
yeah.
group.
Well, see, but that's just the thing is that Vesepia got to have the experience of having to go where move where the power shifted, and she was able to kind of
Hmm.
do that
There was
and play through the game that way. Because there were moments where it felt like she could easily be on the chopping block, and she wasn't. So
but yeah, they both played similarly, and it was like the under the radar, and
yeah,
like still methodical in how they did things, but
yeah,
not overtly and in people's
yeah,
faces, and they were never really posed as a threat
mm,
until they just win. So
yeah,
that's like the cleanest way to play the game right there. Is like, except I
it's
mean, it's obviously not the perfect way to play because they ended up in 4-3 votes. So it's like just
yeah,
that little difference could have shifted it. But
yeah,
so I guess that's it, right?
yeah. Oh
That's all.
we talked about this at the end that it was interesting to see. Um, all of the winners so far have been like interesting like minorities. So we have this is the first black woman. So we
Mm-hmm.
had a gay man win the first one, a Jewish man, and then the first woman was obviously Tina,
Mm-hmm.
which was like, oh, that was because that was cool. I was like, oh, first woman win Survivor.
That's
Like it
also
was
like
just kind of
upper age range too, which is
yeah,
interesting
an
too.
upper age range too. Yeah. So it was kind of interesting to look at. Especially,
Yeah,
I think to me the most interesting I think was the fact that a an openly gay man won the first
first
Survivor,
season. Yeah.
which is like crazy for the year 2000 was when the first one came out,
Mm-hmm.
which is really, you know, I just thought we just both thought that was kind of interesting. So
But
yeah,
yeah, that's like a statement right there. It's like this game. It's like you just play it well. We're not anything goes. Anyone can
no
win.
no agenda. We're not trying to push anything. It's literally anyone can win this game if you just put your mind to it, which
Yeah,
is really cool.
and like you've seen several different ages make it close to the end now. You've seen the older guys, you've seen the younger women. So
Anything can happen.
yeah,
That's what I've really liked about watching this so far.
and
So
it's a great thing of Survivor. It's the melting pot of all these different people from all over the world. Like literally, you see people like Pascal talking about it at the end. There was like Sean from Harlem, New York. He's from Pascal's from Georgia, and they're
yeah.
able to get along and
And
come over
they
their
were at
differences.
odds.
Yeah,
That was another one of my favorite moments. It was like when they came together and
yeah,
they formed like a really like close bond like really fast.
yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah, that was great, and it's like
Yeah.
it went from Pascal being like, "I'll never," what a disgrace he would be in the final three. That guy, that
Yeah.
guy, there's no
Yeah.
respect for him whatsoever.
And then
To
like yeah, turning around and like really being like I could I remember him being like in the final five. It was like any of these people I would be okay with
yeah,
being the survivor.
but then
So
of course they had that final conflict before Sean was voted out, but it's all good. It was for
yeah.
Pascal's just like you know what, I
They've been
changed my
playing this
mind.
from the start. Yeah, they've been playing this from the start. That was like his thing. Yeah.
I changed my mind. You would be a disgrace in the final travel. All right. All right, so that's Survivor
Good
Marquesas.
stuff.
Great
Yeah.
stuff.
So
Beautiful
looking
stuff.
forward to the next one.
Next one, Survivor
Yeah.
Thailand, just around the river bend.
Thailand. Yeah.
And we're hoping we're going to see how it goes, but we're going to hope for at least a weekly Survivor coverage of some regard. See how it
We'll
goes.
see how that goes. Yeah.
But of course, we'll have
Until
a
next
season review again. We'll meet back again.
Oh, yeah. Every time.
All right. Thank you.
Boy.